Yeah, national anthem, or national anthem, pledge of allegiance. Who's singing?
Not on.
Pledge allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. And roll call, please.
Osborne,
Here.
Euler,
Here.
Bentley, not present, Jones, Kushner.
Here.
Thank you.
And approval of city minutes, regular city council meeting and work session minutes dated June 12th of 2030.
Move to approve.
Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Jones. Yes. Kushner.
Yes. Adoption of the agenda.
I move to adopt agenda. Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Jones. Yes. Kushner.
Yes. Okay, first, number 5 is presentations. We have several tonight, and we'll start off with a legislative update by Han. The both government relations legislative update.
Hello, guys, thank you. My name's Jay Hahn, Chief Principal at Hahn DeBooth Government Relations, and to my right here, your left is Ryan DeBooth. And we represent kind of the faction inside Jefferson City that represents the interest of the city of Warrensburg. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you for having us here, and council members, and Madam Administrator, thank you for the invitation. It's always a good time to be in front of you guys, and I'm really happy. This doesn't always happen in government, but we get to talk about some of the good stuff going on and some of the good things coming your way. We hope pretty soon. We do have a small slide deck prepared for you, and in your hand, you will see our end of session report. If you guys have any questions on any of those things, let us know kind of along the way. We hope this is informative. And so towards the tail end of this presentation, we'll do a little bit of Q&A, but we'll hit some of the highlights of some of the stuff we've worked on over this past year. So that's our team in Jefferson City. Gentleman couldn't be with us here tonight. That's also vitally important. Andy Foley handles our budget portfolio for our firm. And we do have a list of several other people that work on things, but any given day in the Capitol, these are the people that are working your issue. So as a refresher, and I took a look to see if we have anybody new. And so if you weren't here the last time we presented, you know, what is it that a government relations firm does for you? And the answer is a lot. And sometimes it's hard to convey what it is they're doing for you. But we help work through the inner nuance of whether it's a legislative function inside the General Assembly. And quite a bit of our work is done through the governor's office. I noticed the slide deck says there's 16 executive agencies. The voters actually made it 17 with the Department of National Guard. And I'm sure you guys pay attention to what's going on in the National Guard because of your proximity to Whiteman. We also do regulatory review. Every time a state law passes, sometimes we pass these things called CSRs. More often than not, they affect citizens. They affect municipalities and political subdivisions. So you take a look at those. One of the things we're really excited to talk to you guys tonight about is the grant assistance that we've been offering. And so we had some successes. We've actually highlighted those for you here. So, and I got to give kind of an honorable shout out to really two people. Of course, our city administrator for her good work on these, and then Tracy somewhere back there for her. She drafted a good chunk of the materials that went into this, and these things could not have been done without those two people. Ryan and I served as a kind of support staff to make sure the Department of Economic Development was giving the city of Warrensburg and Johnson County a fair shake. And we think that they have because we've had some success on awards, and we're not quite done yet. So you can see some of the awards that we've been successful at going after and have won. There will be another tranche of grants coming down once the White House issues better guidance to the state. You'll see some of that on transportation and infrastructure. So this is what we consider to be a recent success, but it's not done yet. So if you take a look at 19.416, this is $5 million for your Commerce Park. And that is a disproportionately large number in a state budget. We're pretty excited about this. If it looks like a rehash from a previous year, it is, right? This number had been appropriated by the General Assembly, by lawmakers, but not all the steps were being done at that time to get this thing to stick through what we call governor's actions. And so this year, our firm has engaged heavily on this 5 million. And we have met numerous times with the governor's staff. I feel comfortable telling you that our firm is uniquely situated. We're very close with the governor's team, and we've been talking a lot about this 5 million. We're going to continue to follow up. As recently as today, I talked to the senator who is responsible for putting that 5 million on step 1, and we're working with him to make sure we get through step 20. It is my belief that Governor Parson will likely sign the budget bills. If not Thursday night, it'll be Friday of this week. So we will have line of sight to know whether that $5 million is going to be appropriated and go through Department of Economic Development and become available this upcoming fiscal year, which is essentially July. We're really excited about this. Our feedback from the governor's office is very positive. And there was a moment in time when maybe if this was left untouched, it would be eligible for what we call a line item veto by the governor. He has that authority in Missouri. We don't believe that to be the case today. So we're excited. We think this one's looking pretty good. Yeah, and here's the caveat. We're lobbyists. We're always going to buy an out here. Listen, the governor may choose to veto it. If he does, that's his authority. He obviously has done that before. But we've done everything in our power to make sure that it's where it needs to be. There's an additional $850,000. Now, this is something that the university has been working on, but we went ahead and leaned in during our meeting. We scheduled a meeting, kind of a post-session wrap-up with the governor's office. Not all firms do that, but we go to the governor and we say, we have the following list of these items. This is what we've been working on. What do you need from us? And so we handed over additional materials on the 5 million for the park. And those materials were received by executive staff and reviewed. It provides legitimacy to the project, which is very important. On Skyhaven, your airport, we actually visited tonight. We're going to go back here in a little bit. We believe that 850,000 is in really good shape as well. And that'll be used for a self-serve fuel. It has a practical need. We sat the governor's staff down and explained why that was a practical need. You're not abnormal. Cities of your size should have this. And so I think we're in a really good position on that line item as well. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pause here and I'll jump back in as necessary, but I'm going to hand it over to Ryan. He's going to talk a little bit about the legislation that we went through. If you guys read the reports, you know, we had over 2,000 bills filed. A lot of them are really, really bad, right? This year, an anomaly in the General Assembly and in our state is we had a record low number of bills actually passed and reached the governor's desk. 64 bills. We worked all year long. We got 64 bills done. And out of those, 19 were required by the Constitution. So they had to be done. And so we have a record low number of bills. But boy, do we have a lot of busy work. Ryan and I were on the phone with Danielle frequently saying, how does this affect Warrensburg, right? What do we need to be doing on this particular bill? And a lot of things did die. That's a good thing. And so I'll hand it over to Ryan. He'll talk a little bit more about some of the bills. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the 5 million for the Brady Park. What will that do for the Brady Park?
So we can bring in the pamphlet, but this is essentially a prep work for an expansion of a pre-existing business.
Oh, okay. Thank
Yep.
you.
Like phase 2 of what's already there.
Okay.
And because I don't directly represent the Department of Economic Development for Johnson County, I won't elaborate too much more. Good question.
Yeah, so I'm going to go through 3 slides here. The first one is about what passed, and then 2 about what didn't pass, which is appropriate because, as Jay mentioned, a whole lot more didn't pass than did. That's good news. It's in a world where sometimes Jefferson City can do some things we don't like. I think this year was a year where we came out mostly unscathed out of legislative session. So I I'm gonna touch on a couple things in the slides. This end of session government relations update on page, gosh, let me see. You know, you start on under subsection C on page 2, and that's a much more robust list of what passed and didn't pass. These are, we stay in regular communication with our city manager throughout legislative session. We do weekly reports where we say this is what's moving right now. Big long lists of a ton of bills, and you know, fortunately this year we got to the end and not a lot of it passed. But what did pass? So there were some modest changes to closed records and information disclosure rules. That's my way of summarizing what you can see in the report. The biggest change is they're allowing additional ability to close records for security measures, which just makes sense. I mean, that's a good change. Also had some minor changes to sales and property tax laws. Now, on the next slide, we'll talk about what didn't pass were major changes to sales and property tax laws. We really thought that this year they were probably going to make some pretty substantial tax changes that would impact local governments pretty significantly. The biggest of which being property taxes. Now, in a time when revenue is higher for the state, for the federal government, and for local governments, it may not have had a massive impact, but you start thinking about ratcheting down the ability for increases in property taxes, such that if maybe a property tax ceilings off on residential property without any ability to increase it ever until the property is sold. Those sort of things can have an impact on local governments. Sales tax, you know, if you exempt food entirely from sales tax, which there was a lot of conversation on, there's a lot of arguments that can be made. Maybe that is or isn't the right thing to do, but it's definitely going to have a dramatic impact on sales tax revenue for cities and counties. So that was, we had some minor changes, nothing big. They allowed, we have what we call the circuit breaker, which is the county has the ability to provide certain property tax treatment for senior citizens. So they expanded that a little bit. That was probably the biggest tax change that happened, which shouldn't have a real dramatic impact. Other thing, they did pass a criminal justice omnibus bill. I won't go into all the details of it. It's the sort of thing I'm sure our chief of police and our police department knows more about it than I do at this point, but I have the bullet points of it listed out in the report, and I'm happy to talk through any issues on that you guys see. Local government omnibus bill did not pass. It was teed up and ready to pass. What that means, they didn't make any changes to the Parks Board statute. You know, one of the sad things we worked on a year ago, they passed a law that made it virtually impossible for cities to track home-based business activity inside their city limits. I think the goals were good on that. They were trying to say, don't over-regulate home-based business, but they went a little too far. And we've been working on trying to get that scaled back and put back in a more reasonable place. And that died with the local government omnibus bill. That issue will almost certainly be back next year. Cable franchise fees, that did not happen. That was something that would have had, you know, for a city like Warrensburg, only a modest impact on revenue, but it was something that we watched. Waiving taxes and fees for businesses during shutdown orders, that's hearkening back to the COVID days. Library zoning compliance, some localities have had trouble with their library districts wanting to do some things that violate various local ordinances. Prohibiting evictions on moratoriums, that's another hearkening back to some of the things that happened during COVID. Requirements for public comment at meetings, that was something that throughout session probably the impact of was understated, but to take away from a local government the ability to determine their own rules on how public comment is going to work at meetings would have been something that could have worked out, but more than likely was going to create some problems. Requiring a 2/3 majority to establish a SID or a TDD, that was something that had been proposed. It was actually a very popular proposal, and I expect that'll come back next year. And then some regulations around what ballot language on local tax measures. I will tell you that omnibus bill was, I should have went back and looked at it. It was up around 300 pages by the time we had it all put together. So that's barely touching the surface on what was in there. There was a lot of things in there. Some other things that didn't pass, significant tax changes. I just talked about that. There was a provision we were watching for reasons that are probably obvious that would have prohibited the resubmission of local tax proposals. So that in concept maybe works, but it needs to operate in sort of inside of a set of kind of guidelines, parameters where it makes sense. Authorizing local government land banks, we were gonna have broad authorization for land banks, that didn't happen. And broad authorization for transient guest taxes didn't happen. And then, I just listed out a few, but there were a lot of bills out there that were making a lot of progress that would really limit local control over a lot of issues. Things like whether you reissue a tobacco license, things like whether and to what extent pet shops are allowed to operate inside your locality. Things like what sort of requirements you put in place for homeowner DIY projects, or what sort of regulations exist for licensed professionals or digital asset mining. Again, that's just barely skimming the surface on the bill. So I'll turn it back over to Jay, if there's any questions on those to talk us through some of the things we're currently working on.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions at all, just feel free to let us know. So we will finish the work on recent appropriations. We do think we'll reach a definitive conclusion. And the Constitution gives the governor a timeline at which he must act on these bills. So he's going to push it right up to the deadline. It's probably doing some farming activity right now, so that's currently taking priority. But I think later this week, you're going to see those actions occur. Something we've been talking to your city administrator about is what is coming down the pipe? What are the next tranche of grant opportunities? And so we'll be working and continue to work on Market Street. And something I know is a hot topic to you guys is what are the plans for MoDOT? And what does that look like on Highway 50, the J turns, your bridges? The objective for Ryan and I is to be able to get into MoDOT, use our connections, start working with these folks to see if there's kind of a better way. We are aware and have been involved in discussions of additional federal monies coming down to MoDOT. They have the same number of staff. They will be slightly overwhelmed. So we're going to continue to have our dialogues with MoDOT to say, okay, as we go through what the next round of grants look like, and we talk about Highway 50, what are the creative things we should be doing? And we'll continue to work, of course, with your city manager to know at what point in time do we need to push back? What do we need to be looking for? Are there better opportunities to reinforce certain bridges that you guys designate probably critical? And those are the things that we're going to be working on probably over the next few months leading up to what will become the 2024 legislative session. So we look forward to that. Guys, it's been an absolute blast to represent you. I know I speak on behalf of me and Ryan. It's a privilege to represent you guys. We've had a lot of fun in Jefferson City, and we look forward to our continued relationship.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay. 5.2 competitive compensation study and implementation plan presented by Courtney Christensen's consultant.
I'm gonna do a quick introduction and just catch everyone up. We didn't have a whole lot on the agenda this evening, so we wanted to go ahead and work a few budget discussions in instead of bringing you all in a little early. The compensation plan that Courtney is getting ready and has been working on and preparing for you all is really something that we started, almost last summer when we had the retirement of Human Resources Director Greg McCullough. We knew that we were falling behind, particularly in our public safety positions, but in all of our positions, generally speaking. Some of the challenges that we currently face, we still have 9 vacancies in our police department. We are still struggling with trying to keep pace with those starting salaries in competitive or neighboring communities here in Johnson County, as well as, within driving distance, those other cities and organizations that we compete with for the police and fire. So that was really what, where we started with this is how are we going to continue to be able to recruit and retain in those public safety areas. As we started to work on that, we did a few adjustments in 2022 to try to meet that gap. We did a few adjustments for police and fire. As 22 started to wear on, we started to see other departments that were losing that labor force as well. So in your park maintenance, in your public safety, and then we just went back to the drawing board and we realized that we've really fallen behind the market in many of our city positions, those positions that are so important for us to continue providing the services that we provide to the city of Warrensburg at the service level that the Warrensburg residents have begun to expect. So we have spent a lot of time working on this. We are very I know Courtney will go into the process, and I want you to understand that it has been brought forward with a lot of careful consideration and a lot of number crunching. And we're happy to answer any questions that you all may have about that. This is the recommendation that we are bringing forward to you all. Of course, we will do our final budget presentation over the next couple meetings that we have, but we would like a little bit of direction if you all are comfortable with the proposed plan and how we are moving forward. We will then incorporate that into our budget recommendation, as I mentioned, in the next couple weeks or so. Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Courtney Christensen, and I have been working as an first as the interim HR director since July 25th of 2022. The major project that was presented to me to come to the city with was a competitive compensation study. One was done by Austin Peters in the past they finished it and it was implemented in 2018. But there was a feeling that it didn't really meet the needs of the city, nor was it necessarily competitive. So I came in and I studied that and looked at how they had done that and what was going on with the inability to maintain our police officers. The fact that the moment that you would get a firefighter through the process of his training, his or her training, that they were being stolen by other communities. So how I went about it that was different than what Austin Peters did was, number one, typically when a consultant company does that, they pick out comparable cities in their mind, and then they use that same set of comparable cities no matter what the position is. And so those cities may not have a wastewater plant. And so then they just make up a number that fits in their table, right, of where they think that position is, even though they're not actually comparing it to that. And so what is different about this study, Councilmember Jones, I'm going through this because I know you weren't present. Everybody else was. When we first talked about this in when was that, September maybe, when I had done my first kind of cut at this. But the result was that I met with each of the department heads. I interviewed them about where they were losing employees to, where you were seeing the signs on Highway 50 that said, come work for us and we will give you a $15,000 signing bonus, you know, those kinds of things, and came up with lists for each position. So every single position, full-time position in the city, was looked at by itself with its position description against the position descriptions in the Mid-America Regional Council salary study and the Missouri Municipal League's salary study. And out of that, then we picked those cities that were in our area that had the same size population maybe, and in some cases not the same size population, but like for Parks and Rec, they had, you know, a natatorium, they had a community center, they had the same acreage of parkland that you were taking care of. So it was a very time intensive to go to that level of looking, but if we really wanted to be able to, for you guys to be competitive, I felt like I had to go to that level. So there was a lot of deep diving going on here. So once that was done, then I went back to the department heads and met with them again and said, does this sound like a comparable position to what your person is doing? And in some cases it was no, our firefighters are much more qualified. They have a higher level of certification in their EMT and in their firefighting. So we to compare them to just a typical firefighter who's not also an EMT or who doesn't have that extra certification was not going to be competitive. That's why our people get stolen so often. And so it was like, oh, okay. So then we went back through and I went back through and looked it up again. And we ended up with a firefighter EMT2 was much more comparable to what your people, I keep saying ours is, I feel at first I didn't feel, it's just from outside. Now that I've been here this long, it's like I feel really part of the group. And because the department heads are so nice. So we had to change some of those classifications because also depending on the size of your city and how your city is organized, depends on how you organize within your departments. And so you have to, again, I had to go back out and look at other cities. When I presented to the council in a workshop in late August or early September about this, I told them that the result of that first glance was that the salaries were so off that I did not see how you financially could afford to meet the minimums in those salary ranges in 1 year. And so my recommendation was that the salaries of all the employees that were at an average or above in their evaluation should be raised 5%, and that all of the salary ranges should be raised 5%. Not that that was going to catch them up, but it would at least give us a step forward. And so that was done. And then that was put back into the salary study and all of the configuration was done again. After we got through with figuring out, okay, we are with competitive cities, we have the right qualifications that we're comparing to, those kinds of things. Then the next thing to do is to look at how long have your employees been with you? Where do they belong on the range? What is the bottom of the range? What are the different quartiles? So I went through all of that. And today we presented that to all of the department heads individually with their departments. And so the end result was I met with the city manager several times during this whole thing and would get direction on what to do. The end result was there were some employees, because we were only looking at the bottom of the range to start, that were already higher than the bottom of the range. So they would not be looking at an increase, and there was a decision that they should have a minimum of a $240 a year raise, which is $20 a month, so that they had something for just time on the job that would go into their base. The ones that were below the base, it came out to over $330,000 to get people to the bottom of the new ranges. Oh, and I skipped one step. The ranges, what was picked as the range is the middle or the median of all of their comparables for each one of the positions. So some of them had 12 cities or 12, for like fire, we looked at fire districts too. They might have 12 comparables in there. And so then those were put into a spreadsheet, and you looked at the midpoint, and then they were ranked based on their midpoint, the median of their ranges. And those were put in order and then counted down to the middle of those 12, or if we do 13, that's easier. So there were 6 above and 6 below, and then there was 1 in the middle. And then that became the actual salary range. That was what this is based on. So it is the middle of the salary ranges of the comparables for each position is what it is. And we have not artificially, we talked about doing it, we have not changed anybody's range artificially by trying to make fewer ranges, which is what happens a lot in those studies. And so some people go down, some people go up, but they try to make like 16 ranges, though that's not really what it is. And that just makes it more difficult the next time you do a study because the next person doesn't know how those were created. So the decision is that we were going to actually leave their jobs individually and look at each one of them and give them their own ranges. So that's what has happened. So it is the middle range of whatever the comparables were, okay, is where we're starting from. And so out of that, because that number that we came to that was over $300,000, that does not include, then you've got to pay loggers, you got to pay FICA, you have to pay long-term disability, short-term I mean, there's all of these roll-offs, right? And so I was told to look at a number and a process that we could get to that would get us to between 225,000 to 275,000 of salary, so that when we rolled up, we wouldn't be more than 350,000. So out of that, the thing that came to me, at least, as the easiest thing to do was to go and use, if we do 3/4 of that 300,000, then that gets us to 225. Then we could put the 240 on everybody who wasn't getting anything because they were already above, and I could stay within the number that I was given. So the end result was, when we got all done with it, and I should say that there are, because as you know, you're down 9 police officers. I mean, that's affecting what you can do as far as, you know, foot patrols in downtown. I mean, it affects a lot of things. You are not down on firefighters, but it's a fight to keep them that you have. So for police officers and firefighters, this number that I'm going to give you includes all of them moving to the bottom of their range, because you cannot continue to lose those people. It's costing you money. I mean, the taxpayers are paying to train these people who are immediately stolen. So you're paying to train people and not getting the benefits. So we need to get those bottoms up. And so it does include them moving to the bottom of their ranges totally, not the 75%, but the total amount. So it recommends that police officers are starting police officers, not the cadets, the starting police officers would be at 21.06 cents. That's the starting of the range. And that makes them much more competitive by doing that. So the end result was, we're looking at $239,598.39 to be exact, of what it would take to get all of those things done. So the police officers and the firefighters being at the bottom, the other ones going to 75% of the bottom of their range. We won't move those ranges because you can't move them till you can get everybody there. But we will know what that number is. So we're looking at it when you hire new people until you can get the next phase done. The undecided future number that you're looking at is $399,238.70 is what is not being proposed this evening. So that is not only the 25% for the people who would get to the bottom, but that's also looking at all of your employees, going through how long they've been in their present position. Because if you've been in a present position for 5 to 7 years, you should be at the median. And so we looked at that. And so that number includes moving everybody who's been here 5 years or more to the median in the future. Now, it does not move the people who have been here 10 years and more, who should be at the top of the 3rd quartile to that position. It's just moving everybody to the median who needs to be there. And just know, the longer it takes you to get to where you can afford this next phase, there will be more people. It'll be a moving number because there will be more people who are closer to 5 years or are in that 5 year that we need to then pop up to. So it is an ongoing process to keep these up to date. So I have individual department numbers. She thought that I might mention those to you so you'll know how much money it takes to do what we've just discussed, okay? So for police, that's $83,063.75 this year to do what I have described. Fire, that's $83,677.09. Now, the numbers drop dramatically after this, and just understand that a lot of that also has to do with the size of the departments, because the departments start getting smaller. Public Works is still a big department, but as the city manager mentioned, there were several adjustments made to certain departments over the 2022 and in 2023 to try to take care of some things. And it did show a result when I did the study, finished the study. So Public Works, water pollution and control, our Warrensburg pollution control is $34,744.80. Now, some of these have been a little adjusted because we've made a few adjustments, and I had already printed this, but we're real close. We're like $420 off or something. Community development is, I think community development was one that we changed, and it's now $7,300 instead of $6,800. Is that what it was? Wasn't it hers? Yeah, that's what I thought. And then Parks and Rec is $12,830. They don't, and that does not include any part-time. That's just their full-time positions and the full-time positions that are filled. Okay, because they have a lot of several vacancies, important vacancies also. Finance is $11,476.95. And administrative services, which is the city manager's office, the municipal court, the IT department, and HR, their total is $6,956.40. Now, one thing I forgot to say that I just want to make clear though too is that no member of the executive team is getting anything in this 239,000. That they are not going to get any increases, even if it showed that they should. Their ranges will not be adjusted. That has been left behind until the regular workers can be taken care of. Okay. I'll answer any questions you have. It's a lot of numbers, I know, but I'm a numbers person. So.
The one thing that I would just add, to Courtney's presentation really quick, what's the magic behind that 225, that 250,000 mark that we are trying to hit? And while we're trying to manage the entire financial impact of these adjustments and keep that around 350,000. The reason for that, last time we did our budget discussions at our last meeting, we ran through what all of our fund balances are. We ran through what fund balance was in the general fund, as well as wastewater, pollution, and parks. We feel if we were to make these adjustments, that is a sustainable change that we can make and continue moving forward with performance merits as well in FY 23-24. We feel like that is sustainable to spend down our fund balance and be able to maintain that until we find additional revenue sources to move that forward. So that was what we feel like we could handle sustainably for a few years until we can identify additional revenue sources by spending down that fund balance to make sure that we are able to continue hiring and keeping police officers, firefighters, make sure we continue having folks out there to repair the storm water issues that we have, making sure that we have folks who can keep us safe and around to, provide those services for the city of Warrensburg. So with that, any questions?
Chief, is this something that's going to help us?
It's definitely not gonna hurt.
I know we got a ways.
It's in the right direction.
Yeah, it's moving in the right direction.
Is this gonna be sufficient though, to keep the people that you have, that you're at risk?
Yeah, I
of
think
losing?
it's gonna help keep the people that we have and help us with the recruiting. And I think all law enforcement agencies are affecting this, even with the pay. Even if the pay is at the numbers that are presented, it's still going to be difficult. Every agencies are dealing with it, but at least we can probably say we're competitive. We don't think it's going to be the money. We're at least competitive and not $3-4 behind surrounding cities. So,
For right now, our starting police officers make $18.25 an hour. The sheriff's department starts at 21, UCM starts at 21, civilian starts at 24. that's how far we are behind in our salaries. So bringing our officers up to 21 will make us competitive for now, and knowing that everyone is continuing to move that mark. But
And speaking as you, most of you have met me, and my background, my expertise is supposedly finance and HR, but just remember too, that this doesn't finish it. And I think that you need to, the only way this works is you do this first step, and then you make sure that your increases each year, your regular evaluated increases, stay competitive with your neighbors, or you're going to continue to fall back behind. And then these numbers just continue to grow, and it just, makes the separation greater. So a lot of times communities are like, well, we just did the $240,000. What do you mean we now need to do 4%? Well, this is based on 2022's salary studies, because that's when we started it. And so, already a year's already happened, right? And so you've got to continually give the same amount, and you've got to stay competitive through there. And that's why it's important not to overcommit out of your fund balance, because you've got to have something that you can sustain at the same time too. So,
So what you presented tonight is part one.
yes. I called it phase one, but yes,
One.
yes,
Okay,
I
so
called
we
it
need
phase
a
one.
phase, we need a phase two, to know what phase 2 and 3 are going to be based on the economy and what's going on.
Right, right. And that's not so I can get more work. I mean, it's $400,000 is the amount that's unfunded. And so there needs to be some kind of decision on what's, whether it's a new sales tax or what your revenue, where you're going to get the revenue to be able to take another hunk out of that 400,000.
Okay, that part I just didn't understand. So 300 and some thousand of what you said is funded.
239,000 to about 240 is with the funding if you use the fund balance this year.
Okay.
And then the 300,000 is what you get because of all the other expenses that go on top of the salary ranges, right?
Right,
Because
right.
it affects life insurance, it affects everything. Yes.
But
Yes.
where does the 400,000 come from?
400,000 is what is left to meet the plan. So that's the 25% that people didn't get to the bottom of the ranges. And it's the money that people who have been here 5 or more years, some of which are 10, 15 years, will only be at the bottom of the range. And at minimum, the goal is to get them to the median of the range.
Oh,
So
we're
that's
not
what.
We're not getting everybody to the meeting.
Oh, not even close. And that's part of what was wrong with how, no, I shouldn't say wrong. Sorry, I'm very opinionated. People know this. That was what was misspoken about the Austin Peters. The employees were given the impression, the way it was understood was that they were being moved to the median, and they were never being moved to the median in that plan. So they calculated the median and then they reduced it to 80% and then started everybody there. They were never there in the first place. And they had the competition cities, some of which you would never compete with. They were they just don't even provide the same services. So of course it's cheaper for them. But yes, no, this is not getting people to the median. This is getting people to the bottom of the range of the middle of their comparables. Okay. And it doesn't even get them all the way there because it's only 75% of what it takes to get them there, except for the police officers and the firefighters, and not the whole police department, just the original police officers. It's not the captain, the sergeants, it's not the corporals, it's not the lieutenants, it's not the fire captains, it's not the division heads or the battalion chiefs. It's not those. It's just the beginning levels in those. You're getting them to their level, but not the higher ones.
So the people that have been here aren't going to get.
Many of those are just getting the basic $240. That's why she wanted to do the 240.
you're trying to prioritize So trying to bring people to that bottom of what that competitive range is. So we're trying to balance and prioritize and making sure that we're getting them 75% of the way to the bottom, but then also being able to account for years of service and give a little bit of priority to that too, so that we don't run into compression issues. But it has been a very challenging exercise to make sure that we are prioritizing those particular positions that we're having such a challenge recruiting and keeping, which would be those entry-level police, entry-level fire, entry-level public works, making sure that we are getting and being competitive with those particular positions that we're having such a difficult time with. Prioritizing those, and then also trying to give credit to our employees who have been here, but we are not getting everyone known to the media.
Not, and we're not even concerned with getting anybody to the median in this phase one. We're trying to get people to the bottom.
I'm just thinking of the people that have been hanging on and they're loyal,
Right.
good employees.
And some of those have moved, and some of those bottoms have moved, and so we are getting them something, so about 75% of the way there, which is
It's better
which
than
is
nothing.
significant. You know, I'm thinking of, you know, we have a few positions in public works in particular, where someone has been on board for 5 or 6 years, and just 75% of what they're making now compared to the bottom of that competitive range is $2,500, $3,000. So it is significant that 75% of the way there is, but we're not going to be able to get them all the way to the bottom. And also afford to be able to give them credit for all the years of service that they've given us. As Courtney mentioned, we feel that these adjustments are sustainable with our current revenue source and, you know, spending down fund balance to be able to do this and all the other operational costs that we have heading into the next FY. But we still have a significant chunk of work, $400,000 that is unfunded, that we are going to continue to strive and work for and try to identify a funding source in a ways that we can, you know, try to figure this out, but it is very challenging. You know, I would just say that last year in April, we went for that 1% sales tax increase. We shared with folks that, you know, 70% of our budget is personnel, and we knew that we were not competitive. And even with that, the 70% of personnel being part of that general fund, it was not something that we took lightly to ask for that additional 1% from in that sales tax. That was not an easy request for us to go out and ask. We did lose that initiative by 66 votes. And so that will be another conversation that we have as we continue to put together and develop this budget, is do we go back to the voters and ask for that 1% again, or what does that look like? Because truly being able to maintain our demands and our personnel expenses as well as our operational expenses. I know we hear that inflation is going up, the cost of equipment, the cost of materials, all of that is continuing to go up, as is labor inputs. And you know, I think we have a certain service level that we have to provide to Warrensburg residents. And so if we cannot hire the people to do that, we will have to contract that out. And when we contract it out, we are not only paying that labor's worker, we're also paying overhead for that particular contractor to make profit. So there are certain benefits for us to have certain positions that are, you know, paid for by those public dollars. So even though those, you know, inflation is going up, and I do appreciate that the economy is a tough economy, but that is also for all of our city employees. And I do think we have a good group of folks, dedicated, committed, loyal Warrensburg employees. But eventually they will have to make decisions that are in the best interest of their households and their families. So we're just trying to mitigate some of that and trying to alleviate some of the financial pressures they're experiencing as well.
And being short night officers, obviously, maybe the biggest worry is the ones we have and keeping are having to work overtime, stress, the pressure they have on scheduling. I know we're short at maybe the municipal court, things like that. So Chief, I guess that's something that's really,
Yeah, it's starting to take a toll. It's about 1.5 years now of working a lot of overtime and starting to have less and less people sign up for it. Just figuring out scheduling and making that happen. But we're getting by, so we'll continue to move forward.
well, we appreciate their good work and hanging in there. And Courtney, thank you for doing this. It's a big step for us to get up. So thank you.
is there action you want us to take or think about it or what?
No action, just to think about that. I think direction from you all, if you all are comfortable with us continuing to move forward, understanding that we will be spending down fund balance this year. If we do move forward with these adjustments.
The only obvious way to hit is get into the fund balances, even though we don't want to do that, but it's sad or not have people on the streets. And that's everybody. Okay. Anything else, man?
Not on that particular item, no.
Okay. 5.3 presentations from community partner funding requests, starting with depot renovation. And there's the occupant of the depot.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioner, Council members. I'm Suzanne Taylor, the Executive Director of the Warrensburg Chamber of Commerce, and I serve as an ex officio member of the Depot Renovation, Preservation and Maintenance Corporation. Unfortunately, a last-minute issue has prevented the corporation's president, Mr. William Bernier, to attend, so I'm standing in for him. On behalf of the Depot Renovation, Preservation and Maintenance Corporation Board of Directors, I'd like to thank you for the support that you've given us in the past. And I ask you to consider a $2,000 investment for 23-24. We have pulled back from the initial request of $5,000 because of your contribution to the building's automatic door locks. The city of Warrensburg obtained the long-term lease of our historic railroad depot in 1985 for $1 per year from the Union Pacific Railroad. The depot was constructed in 1889 and opened in January of 1890. The commercial center of our community soon moved from the old town along Main Street to Holden Street near the depot. The Missouri Pacific Railroad took the depot out of active service in 1968, and it rapidly deteriorated. The city leased the depot with the hope of rescuing the nucleus of our central business district. In partnership, the city of Warrensburg and the Warrensburg Chamber of Commerce formed the Depot Renovation Corps to renovate the historic building. The Depot Renovation, Preservation and Maintenance Corporation is the beneficiary of a bequest from Dr. Maureen Arkauer in the amount of $95,778.36. This is a permanently restricted gift, and only the investment income from this donation can be spent. The community services provided by the Depot Renovation, Preservation and Maintenance Corporation include the home of the Warrensburg Chamber of Commerce, Amtrak passenger waiting and loading platform, intercity bus services terminal, and the Jack Moore Community Meeting Room. Over the past few years, Depot Renovation, Preservation and Maintenance Corporation has replaced the roof on both sections of the depot, removed lead-based paint from the building exterior and repainted, replaced ceiling tiles and light fixtures in the passenger waiting area, repaired and repainted exterior doors, door trim and window trim, repaired and repainted significant portions of the passengers waiting men's and women's restrooms, regularly cleaning floors, walls, ceilings, and the passenger waiting area, and maintained exterior plantings and mulch around the building. The Depot Renovation, Preservation and Maintenance Corporation participates with the Chamber in advocacy for expansion and continuation of Amtrak service to our community. And the future project that the commission is working and trying to build reserves for is to repair damage to the 133-year-old stone facing caused by freezing and thawing. That estimated cost is about $10,000. I do thank you for your time. I thank you for your continued support, your past support, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Sounds good, Suzanne. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have big brothers and big sisters.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for having me. I'm pleased to be here on behalf of Big Brothers Big Sisters. I'm Dana Phelps, the executive director. I've been in this role almost 5 years, so I'm really starting to see the payoff of what we're doing in this community. I hope that you guys are seeing that as well. I know I do quarterly reports to you. I submitted some documents for your review. We recently did a survey. The long and short is the money that you guys partner with us and give to us, we are very grateful for each year because we kind of know that we have that to cover our administrative costs, our utilities, trainings, things like that. We're pleased to be getting grant money each year that we're turning right around and putting right back into the community. But that grant money, as you guys know, doesn't cover all of our costs to keep our doors open and be able to do what we do. I take very seriously, and my board of directors does too, that we are a community partner and we do get out and about and try to pitch in everywhere we can. We sit at Shepherd Park, we do a lot there. I don't know really what else to say to you guys. I hope you had time to review the documents I sent over to you. I'm happy to answer questions. And each year that I come and do this, I debate whether I should give an inspirational moment. And everyone that has heard me talk about Big Brothers Big Sisters know that I could do that for about 30 minutes or so. And I had kind of decided, I was like, well, maybe not. I gave them the results of the survey. They see quotes in there. About 6:15, I got a phone call from one of our parents. She's a single mother, 3 kids in the program. Her kids have been in the program for about 8 years. She called me. She said, I just want to tell you, thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Please to express to your board of directors, thank you. Littlest, youngest member of the family, timid, hasn't really found what she wants to do for sure. We were able to grant her her fees and her memberships and everything she needed to join the Piranha Swim Club. She is thriving and mom is thrilled, over the moon. The little one is like really kind of, she's excited and she's joined a group now. She also wanted to tell me that her son, who is 15 and has been matched with his big for about 7 years now, Father's Day came around, and of course that's hard. So he decided that he was going to buy out of his own money tickets to the Royals game and gave that to his big for Father's Day. So that's my inspirational moment. I hope that gives you an idea of what I will do, we will do with the money. We so appreciate your partnership. I appreciate you letting me be here today and submitting the documents that we do every quarter. And I am more than happy to answer questions.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Next up is Jill of Main Street.
Mayor and City Council, I'm happy to be here tonight to present to you about Warrensburg Main Street. My name is Jill Purvis and I'm the Executive Director. I'm happy to say we have several of our board members in attendance tonight showing their support for Warrensburg Main Street. But I am here to share some exciting updates that have been happening in downtown since I was here last year. We so very much appreciate the partnership that we have with the city and all of the city departments that support our organization all year long. I did have a packet that I submitted to you, but I do want to take some time just to to highlight some of the items that are included in that packet. We have been a nonprofit in Warrensburg for over 25 years. Our organization strives to build a sense of community pride by fostering a clean, inviting downtown where businesses can thrive, individuals can come to shop and dine, and customers can visit our service-based businesses. We provide small business support along with a variety of free community events for the public to enjoy. Our goal every day at Main Street is to be a community builder and a community partner, creating a place we can all be proud of. We hosted over 49 event days last year in downtown, driving hundreds of people into our local stores that in turn ring our cash registers for our small businesses. Each year, we set a variety of goals for our organization, and this year that includes enhancing our funding sources while creating a network of opportunities for business development, strengthening our brand awareness as an economic driver for our community, continuing to design inviting spaces in downtown, and to revitalize the downtown through education, which in turn will decrease our vacancy rates. Since January, we've been working on all of these goals and have plans for the rest of 2023 to continue to further our mission of revitalizing downtown and building Warrensburg's community pride. Downtown is a very special place with currently 103 businesses and over 475 people employed in those businesses. We are seeing tremendous growth currently in downtown. Our goal in this past year has been to facilitate that growth and to continue to see our main level vacancy rates decrease. Currently, there are 12 buildings in some sort of transition downtown. After talking with many of these property owners, we anticipate that almost all of these buildings will have small businesses opening by the end of this year. Although our current vacancy rate is about 19%, we anticipate that with all these new businesses that our vacancy rate will fall close to 11% by the end of 2023. We are also seeing significant private investment into downtown. At the end of 2022, there was over $1.5 million invested by private property owners in the downtown district. In addition to our cooperative facade grant with the city of Warrensburg, we have awarded a record 7 grants for downtown facade rehabilitations this year. Entrepreneurs in the community are excited about the growth they are seeing downtown, and that shows in these investment statistics. Our growth is being seen in other aspects of our organization and downtown. Over the past 4 years, the farmers market has seen an increase of 166% of seasoned vendors and over an average of 300 customers attending the market each week. Several of our businesses are reporting increases in sales during the farmers market of over 40% each Saturday. Our 2023 season began with 45 vendors, but has already reached over 50 seasoned vendors. These are all small businesses that are in our community who benefit from having our organization advertise, plan, and manage the farmers market. During Bergfest in 2022, we had record number of attendees, as well as vendors and business owners reporting record sales. We had several downtown longtime business owners report they had their best sales ever since starting their business during Bergfest of 2022. Main Street is a community volunteer organization. We work with over 50 volunteers each month to help us accomplish our goals. We strive to have a diversified volunteer base and are always seeking input for the community on ways to improve the downtown district to make it a place for everyone in our community. At the end of 2022, we logged over 3,796 volunteer hours for our organization, which is a value of $120,000. Our volunteers were awarded state level Missouri Main Street Awards in 4 different categories during their annual ceremony last year, the most awards given out to any downtown organization in the entire state of Missouri, including the Volunteer of the Year. We are proud of all of our goals our organization has been able to achieve so far this year, but we know that our partnership and the contract of services we have with the city plays a vital role in being able to accomplish so much. Almost every single office within the city supports us throughout the year with their expertise, their knowledge, their resources, and their staff. We are asking to be funded at the same level with the same terms as the contract that we had last year, and we look forward to another great year of making our community a place we can all be proud of.
Thank you, Jill.
Any questions?
Awesome. Questions?
Okay,
Nope.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Pioneer Trails.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor Kushner. And city council members, my name is Norm Lucas. I'm your executive director for Pioneer Trails Regional Planning Commission. And we are very pleased to continue to serve the city of Warrensburg as a dues paying member. If you look at page 3 of the annual report that I've handed for you. On page 3, you'll find those services which we provide to you in addition to providing Warrensburg that leading place among our communities in the region that your population really puts you in a position to give in the way of community leadership region-wide. Of course, your city administrator is part of our governing board. And we're also happy to have Enrico on our Transportation Advisory Council right now. I say right now because it's extremely important for the city of Warrensburg to communicate those needs you have with the state transportation folks through us, as we are without a permanent area engineer, MoDOT district area engineer at the moment. Ben McCabe has chosen to move on to Clay and Wright counties. And so now we have MoDOT searching for a new area engineer. But our transportation planner and our regional planning commission and the Transportation Advisory Council, on which Enrico serves, they all continue to transmit to MoDOT on behalf of the city those needs of the city in terms of the interface with the state transportation system. You'll see here that we do comprehensive planning. In the case that, pardon me, in the case that the city of Warrensburg, for example, would find one section or 2 sections of the comprehensive plan having fallen out of date, we can update and recertify a couple of sections of your current comprehensive plan, or if you want an entire comprehensive plan rewrite, we can perform that function. We've done that now for several cities in the region since I started with the commission about 5 years ago. We do land use planning in conjunction with that. We provide mapping services, grant application work with you, and this most recent year we worked on the Market Street project, putting together that application, and we're preparing that again for the next round of funding, since it seems that CDBG fell short of being able to fund all of the projects they wanted to fund this last year. Project development is one of our specialties, and we've been working very diligently on considerations for the McGuire Street corridor project. We might help out with development of that project along with your city staff. Of course, we do community and economic development, and it has been a pleasure for our staff to interface with the city staff here at Warrensburg. We find the city staff really easy to work with and very thoughtful and very deliberate about those things that affect your residents. We perform environmental review services. Transportation planning, I've already mentioned because of MoDOT's situation. We do project administration, and of course, when we get the Market Street application through the award process and get that project awarded by CDBG, we will be happy to perform the grant administration tasks that come along with that grant project. And then we also do some regional workshops. So we really appreciate the continued support of $7,160 in dues. And we look forward to providing those services in the same manner as prescribed by the current agreement we have in place. Just review that agreement with you happily. And if you have any questions about what we're working on and what we plan and what we can continue to do for you, I'm happy to answer those questions.
I just have a question. You still have 2 vacancies for Johnson County, or are those filled?
Yeah, Johnson County commissioners have yet to fill those couple of seats on the board.
Because we've got some really great citizens in here. What's the application process for them?
If their names would simply be forwarded to John Marr.
John Mark, okay.
Those folks on the commission, they can go ahead and consider putting one of those people in one of those vacant spots. We would be delighted.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Or I apologize if I missed it in your presentation. Are you still asking for the 7,160?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Whiteman Area Leadership Council. I'll get it out.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. I'm Tracy Brantner. I'm the Executive Director for Johnson County Economic Development Corporation. Tonight before you, I have my Whiteman Area Leadership, you got me doing it, Whiteman Area Leadership Council hat on. We serve as the administrative support for that organization. We don't have any voting rights or any opportunities. We just provide clerical registered agent support for that organization. I'm here tonight because Greg Franken could not be here this evening. He is the president of the Whiteman Area Leadership Council. And once again, we are asking for the $5,000 in funds that were same as last year. That will be the same contract that we have this year, hopefully. Who is Whiteman Area Leadership Council? Basically, we are aiding in the retention and expansion of the missions and physical plant of Whiteman Air Force Base. We work with Whiteman Area Leadership Council to support all the missions at Whiteman Air Force Base and all of the military personnel in conjunction with Base Community Council, which we'll hear from next, I think. Most recently, this organization has completed a housing assessment and action plan. We began this work in 2020. We worked with PGAV planners to document housing needs across the region. It was actually a 30-mile radius around Whiteman Air Force Base. And this product is now been finished as of last month and is on our website at supportwhiteman.com. It has a prominent place right on the homepage, so you can find that there. This organization did that for primarily one singular reason, but mainly the Air Force is looking at quality of life issues. And so quality of life issues are mainly categorized as 5 categories, and it's known as the 5 and Thrive. And while the Air Force hasn't adopted that, that is Shereen Brown, I guess, importance to the military families that all across the US. But anyway, I digress. I apologize. And so the 5 and Thrive is housing, education, healthcare, childcare, spousal employment, and housing, if I didn't already say that. So this was one of the issues that we wanted to take a close look at and make sure that we at least had a good understanding of what our region had in terms of its housing stock and typology. So this report is available. Hopefully, people have had a chance to look at it. It was about $100,000 product. We did get half of that paid for from the state of Missouri through a couple of grant programs that we wrote and were successful in. And so hopefully you and the rest of the development community can avail themselves with that product. Happy to answer any questions if you have them.
No, thank you.
Thanks.
And again, Suzanne, the Base Community Council.
Well, good evening again, my commissioner and council members. As I'd mentioned, I'm Suzanne Taylor, the Executive Director at the Warrensburg Chamber of Commerce, but I'm also the past president of Whiteman Base Community Council. Unfortunately, the president, Mr. Carl Kramer, was unable to attend this evening, so I am standing in. I stand before you to ask for your continued support of the Base Community Council, as you have done in the past several years. The mission of BCC is to support airmen and their families while they're stationed at Whiteman. It's an organization that's made up of 16 communities that surround Whiteman Air Force Base, and each community has a representative who works with one or more squadrons or units. The community liaisons work hard to support and encourage military members to engage and be part of the local community. There are many ways that BCC supports airmen and their families, such as sponsoring major events like the Easter egg hunt, Independence Day, Juneteenth, Summerfest. And the BCC has several major programs to support airmen, to include Adopt an Airman, Airman Home for the Holidays, Dale Buckingham Scholarships. This year, the new area of focus is supporting airmen and their families during deployments. Base Community Council relies on the support of members and major contributors such as the city to continue to support the organization. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present this evening, and my request is the $3,000 level for this year. I am happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Anything?
Sure wear a lot of hats.
Thank you, Suzanne. Oates is next.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. My name is Dawn Ashton. I'm one of the operation managers for Oates. Hopefully you have our paperwork that we submitted. I'm not going to go over everything. I'll go over a couple of things. Oates was established in 1973. We're a private nonprofit corporation. We operate in 87 counties in the state of Missouri. Obviously, with Johnson being one of them, that's headed out of our Sedalia office. We run the Old Drum bus. We also do curb to curb and paratransit transportation in the city of Warrensburg. In the past 12 months, the Old Drum bus has provided 2,400 one-way trips within the city of Warrensburg. And our paratransit has provided 2,112 trips at the same time. These figures take into account Oates and our paratransit, but they do not take into account the other contracts that we have that service our community, Care Connection, Medicaid, MTM, Logistic Care. We have quite a few contracts. Also our Head Start. We do the Head Start for the city of Warrensburg. We had total service hours directly relating to the Old Drum and paratransit were 2,892, with a total cost of $127,248. Warrensburg contributed $15,000 of that, so that left us with we got $8,895 in fares from our Old Drum riders and our paratransit riders. That left us with $103,353 to be funded by other means. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to keep our services the same. We're not going to deviate any way whatsoever. We actually have a really good crew of Warrensburg drivers. A lot of them are ex-military that live in Warrensburg, that they're on their retirement. So they come and work for us because they don't want to sit at home and do honey-do lists all day. So we're asking that the increase go from $15,000 to $18,000. We're going to keep our fares the same for the Old Drum bus at $1.50. And then we do $2.50 for our door-to-door services. As long as they can get to the bus route, they can get on the bus. Any questions?
Thank you very much, man. Good. Next up is first and second readings. First and second reading of an ordinance authorizing city manager and city clerk to enter into an agreement between the city of Warrensburg and Johnson County Emergency Management for the use of their emergency operations center.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. The ordinance in front of you this evening, there's requesting first and second reading just for some timing issues to get it executed, but it would be an MOU between us and Johnson County Emergency Management to have access and use of the Emergency Operations Center located at their facility south of town. An EOC or Emergency Operations Center, we've maintained a couple toolboxes that have equipment in it to build an EOC if we need it. It is very minimal. By using their EOC, we have access to phone lines, computer systems, radio equipment, that kind of thing. If we need it, a lot quicker than what we would be able to deploy. We will still continue to maintain the bare minimum stuff just in case for some reason that facility doesn't make it through the event that would maybe constitute the use of an EOC, but that would be our primary position. So they calculate that annual fee off of population and their lease, but that would be $2,955.52 for the next year, starting July 1st. Any questions?
Do they have a mobile unit?
They have a bus that's been converted to do some of those functions. That has some radios and computers and stuff set up. So we've used that in the past on some of those instances, more of a command center, but just for a specific incident, not a lot of space to bring in all the agencies we would typically have a full EOC activation. But yes, the long answer to your question that I just gave you, but yes, they do.
This is just for EOC usage, not full emergency management?
Correct.
Okay.
Just for access to their EOC will continue to be the emergency management.
Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I move to approve. Do second reading by title.
Got it.
Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
First and, let's see. First and second reading of an ordinance authorizing the city manager and city clerk to enter into an agreement between the city of Warrensburg and Johnson County Emergency Management for the use of the Emergency Operations Center. This is for adoption or rejection. Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes. Okay, next we have 7.1, a resolution in support of the city of Knob Noster State Park Road annexation.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and City Council. A few weeks ago, Scott Peterson, City Administrator for the city of Knob Noster, reached out and shared the city of Knob Noster's intent to annex portions of along, I'll get my map pulled up here, portions of DD Highway from Highway 23 to the west boundary of Knob Noster State Park. The purpose of annexing this and bringing this into Knob Noster city limits is so that their police and emergency services can respond to any incidents along that stretch of highway. MoDOT requires letters of support or resolutions of support from any neighboring jurisdictions within 5 miles. We do not have any objections or any reason to not provide this resolution.
Okay.
No question.
Motion.
Motion to approve resolution.
Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Downtown parklets and sidewalk dining discussion by Mr. Enrico.
So we will be deferring this item to the next council meeting.
Okay. Okay, next we have mayoral appointments with the exception of one. For the council, number 3 has withdrawn his appointment. And so that will not happen. And the rest of them stand as they're listed. Any questions? Okay,
Need a mo-
need a motion to approve the appointments with the number 3 exception.
I so move.
Boy, he's doing all the work for you tonight. Doing good. over there.
You're doing a great job.
Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Jones.
Yeah.
Kushner.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, appearances to council not listed. Looks like you have something, Mr. Harris. Okay,
Vicky.
yeah. We're gonna open up some public comments right now. The standard is usually around 3 minutes, so I'll call people one by one. Vicky Gibson.
Can I approach you all and hand you a paper that? On June 3rd, we did practice our right to peacefully protest the all-age drag event. That was earlier reported that it had been changed to an 18+ event. However, that turned out to be another lie of the drag event coordinators. At the last minute, it was changed yet again to an all-age event. The protest went as planned. The police were awesome at communicating with us during the entire event, making their presence very evident to both sides. They also commended us at the end of the event and thanked us for being quote model protesters. I did hear your speakers at the last meeting, which I was unfortunately not able to attend because of an illness. And they did make reference to some threats supposedly made to them. And I just wanted to be clear and let you know, our group has made no threats. And I'm sure if any threats were made of any validity at all, the police would be called and it would be handled. I was shocked, however, at the city council. I saw how quick everybody was to accommodate the agenda of the Pride Fest and an event that brings such confusion and division and utter madness to the communities as well as our nation, especially given how our elected officials are, your whole purpose is to represent all of us, including the children. Watching you all pledge to the flag every day, it seems touching, however hypocritical in your case. I mean, you're pledging one nation under God, indivisible. And if you know what the definition of indivisible means, it means something that cannot be broken or divided. It means rock solid. Yet after you received hundreds of names on petitions asking you to protect the children from this immoral, insane nonsense and receiving evidence in the form of photos of just how non-appropriate this event is for minor children, you did absolutely nothing except praise and reward the division and the immoral agenda that's coming after our children and being shoved down the throats of a great nation and of its people. You do not have the right to allow any group or of individuals or any movement to steal the innocence of our children, especially a group that is chanting and singing, "We are after your children." And if I'm seeing this truth on media, you guys surely are. And after reading, for your reading pleasure, I gave you those so that you can look. This was from today on the media, the New York Pride event they're having. And they were chanting that they were coming for the children as they were marching down the road, some of them topless with their fake booties on. And is that 3 minutes? That was 3 minutes. Okay. It's really a shame that we can't practice our freedom of speech and have like 4 or 5 minutes to speak. It's really a shame that we don't get that.
This has been established for many, many years here in this meeting.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Gibson.
Oh, I think that's for you.
Mike Compton.
Good evening. I know you're probably not happy to see me, but I'm back again. I'm here to once again express my concern about protecting the children in our community from inappropriate material and performances. As much as those in favor of exposing our children to these inappropriate performances want to make this about discrimination or denying people their rights, it isn't. That's just a deflection from dealing with the critical issue, which is protecting the innocence of children. As I've seen the videos from the Pride celebrations across the nation this weekend, the message was very clear. As the last speaker said, they are chanting, they are coming for our children. And that was in New York City. Other celebrations had men exposing themselves to children as they marched down the street. These celebrations confirm that what they're promoting is their right to practice any sexual behavior that brings them pleasure. Everything is about sex for them. They were not presenting individuals that make honorable contributions to our society, such as scientists or first responders, or even business leaders, to offer them as role models for kids. No, their celebrations were displays of vulgar debauchery. As offensive as these events were to me, I've already formed my moral compass, so it doesn't affect me, but children, especially very young children, have not. And that is exactly why they demand to include them in these events. I have to call it what it is. It's evil. I know if somebody had told me even 5 years ago that society in general would be okay with drag queens performing sexually provocative performances in front of children, I would have not believed it possible, but here we are. I have to look at what comes next. This year, we saw minor attracted persons organizations attempting and sometimes succeeding to be included in the LGBT+ movement. In fact, the Connecticut State Legislature recently passed a bill declaring them a protected minority group. This is the next step of this movement, and it will be here soon unless we act to protect our children now. As Dietrich Bonhoeffer famously said, silence in the face of evil is itself evil. God will not hold us guiltless. Not to speak is to speak, not to act is to act. What these groups are promoting and performing for children is evil. We must all take a side. There is no middle ground. I pray you will spend some time researching for yourselves, and I hope you will ask yourself if you want to continue supporting these groups that are moving our community down this dark path. Passing a city ordinance may not offer substantial penalties, but it would allow our brave police to immediately shut down any event that violated it, preventing children from being exposed in the first place. And that should be the top priority of all of us. I urge you to do so at once, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Compton. Dorothy Arvizu.
She's left.
She left?
Yes.
Okay. Karen Church.
She has also left.
Sure. Okay. Okay. There's no more on the back. No, okay. Miscellaneous matters from the mayor and or city council. Gentlemen, do you have anything? Ma'am? I don't think so either, except everybody's doing a great job, and let's keep on doing it. And if somewhere you could find some rain in the middle of it, it'd be great. One thing I do want to bring up, and it's been put out a lot in joking about the rain, but the 4th of July is coming up. I have a background in the fire department, but the amount of heat that's coming and the amount of dryness and everything that's going on, Chief Jennings and his comrades around the county are about to become very busy. And so if people could just pay attention to what they're doing, right? Okay, city manager report. And Tal.
As a brief jump bad news, thought I'd catch up on the good news. The pumper that has been out of service that came today, the repairs of the DEF system. The repair to the air conditioning system that they thought was gonna fix it, didn't quite get it. There's 7 leaks in the system, so we're working on getting that taken care of. But air conditioning systems and fire trucks are a lot like raising dollars. They're fun, but expensive the older they get, so.
They've always been issues.
Yeah, they are. So we're working on getting it, but the big problem has been solved. And once we kind of figure out what we're doing with the air conditioning, we'll have that back in service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, council, I would like to address everyone, and I want to commend the city manager, Courtney, Marcella, for all the work they did on this pay study. It's been a long time for them. They put in a lot of work. And can't thank you enough for at least considering it and really looking at it, because I do think it is definitely needed to move us forward to get us to where we need to start going. So thank you.
Yep, it's a well-needed project. Still your turn.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. First of all, I want to echo what the chief said. Been in a number of different cities. And the very comprehensive plan that was done on these salary study was very good. And I very much appreciate the opportunity to meet with the city manager and Courtney today to go over that. It was very helpful for our staff. A challenge, and then also good news. The challenge is some may have heard that the pump and the motor went out at the outdoor pool lap swim. And the good news is we have the lazy river and also the kids fountain pool still going. We also have moved the day camp, which is influx of 100 kids into the indoor pool. So the outdoor pool people are happy about that. So that is working very well. Our expectation is the pump is supposed to arrive on Thursday. One of the things we're doing on backup also is we're ordering some new. So when our pump and motor goes down in the future, that we'll be able to replace those quickly. So just wanted you to be aware of that. And the other good news is 6 months ago, we had 420 members of the community center. We now have 1,527. So we're very happy about that.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Mayor and City Council, I'm going to introduce you all to Katie Taylor. Katie Taylor has been with the Human Resources Department since February. She's attended a couple meetings, but I didn't have a chance at those other meetings to introduce you all to her. Katie is Katie. So Katie has been working really hard with Courtney and I on a lot of our HR issues. It has been very exciting to have her on board. She is a Warrensburg local. She is a Warrensburg local. She went to high school here in Warrensburg, and she left for a few years and then came back to the great city of Warrensburg to start her career in human resources and local government. So we are very excited to have Katie. She's been doing great work for us. So just wanted to take an opportunity to introduce her to you all. The only other thing that I would want to update you all on is our residential development lunch and learn. So it's on Wednesday. So we are going to take the opportunity to have some of our residential, particularly single family, multifamily housing developers and contractors, builders, real estate agents come in and sit down with us, grab a bite to eat, but then also share with them information about the Whiteman Area Leadership Council's housing study that was just wrapped up that Tracy shared with you all. And then also just an opportunity to provide them with some information on the sewer revenue bond special election that we have coming up on August 8th. So just a reminder that that location for the August 8th election has been changed from Grover Baptist Church to the Elks Lodge. So that will be on August 8th, and hopefully we will get a good turnout.
You couldn't get it moved to the community center?
No, I could not. No. But we are very, I think it's gonna be great to have it at the Elks Lodge. That's everyone knows where that's at, and yeah, so. That is all we have for you all this evening.
No, I got a question.
Oh, sure.
Not for you, Marcy. Can you give us about 3 minutes on how the center's coming? Yeah,
You give me a time.
about 3. You can go long if you need to.
Okay, so just a few other things I'd like to add in there.
Okay.
Last week I attended Amtrak Takeover. I was accompanied by other CVB directors from communities along the Missouri River Runner. The project was paid for by MoDOT and Missouri Tourism. So we had a small percentage of that cost. And we were able to talk Amtrak into getting free tickets. So we didn't even have to pay for travel. So it was a very cost efficient way for us to be able to promote the communities along the Missouri River Runner to the Illinois audience that did not know the train continued on through St. Louis and through Kansas City. We did participate in 2 different TV interviews. They were shown in Peoria, Illinois. And then we had some other media coverage along with that. It took 500 visitor guides. All of them were handed out during that time. So it was a busy week last week. Got back in about 8 o'clock Friday night. Visited the visitor center as soon as I got back in. We do have new windows. We have a new subfloor. And they are finishing up the taping and the priming of our interior walls. The interior doors will be installed this week. The awnings are scheduled to tentatively be placed this week as well. The fabric has been replaced on the frames. The finishing up of the wrapping of the exterior windows has concluded. So we're getting there. We really, truly are. I noticed today, I hadn't had a chance to go by today because I'm working on a project this week, which I'll mention in just a sec. The ceiling, they're dropping the ceiling to make it more energy efficient. We're really excited about that. This week, we do have Nexstar Media from Springfield coming in. We have 2 production teams. They will be visiting 8 different locations throughout Warrensburg, Johnson County. They'll be doing 2 different TV shows that'll be shown later this summer to the Springfield Greene County audience. That area was identified on our visitor profile study as an opportunity market, and we're going to hit it. And we're very grateful for those that are participating, allowing it to happen. You may have seen, and I hope you have, I do have one. I got so excited for the opportunity to talk, I left it behind, but our visitor guide did come out. And again, just like the TV shows and the digital media that we'll be doing this week with the production team, that wouldn't have been possible without the people participating. We have a great story, and that's what we're doing. We're telling that story through the visitor guide, through the TV shows, the media coverage. And then once we get into the visitor center later this year, we'll have a home. Is that 3 minutes? I'm
I
sorry.
think no, yeah, that's fine. And now I'm
Are
gonna
there
ask
any
you,
questions?
yes, I'm gonna ask you the hardest question that you're gonna have to
Yes.
come up with an answer.
Probably not.
About when do you think?
Don't even. So we're saying fall 23,
Pardon me?
fall 23.
Oh, that's,
Our contractor is hoping to be wrapping up late August, and then we'll need time to be able to get in there, make it our.
do your thing.
Exactly.
Okay, I was just curious about that, and I know you were gonna go. I told you it was a hard question. Okay, anything else?
We got a good answer.
Questions for Marcy? Anything? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Anything else, Danielle, after that?
I don't think so. We do have a closed session, so. Oh,
Barb?
Marcella?
No, Marcella.
so sorry. Oh, yeah. One more, yeah. Yeah.
Forgot about the Marcella show.
I did about the Marcella show, and before Marcella gives her report, this is one of Marcella's last city council meetings with the city of Warrensburg. She has announced her intent to a well-deserved retirement after 34 years in local government, 3 years with the city of Warrensburg. Her last day with the city will be September 29th, so.
Just in time for budget.
We should get me through it. So I do appreciate that. We are very happy for Marcella, and we will be, yes, getting every last minute, second of work out of her the next several weeks. So.
Well, before we go on, I appreciate all your good work, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Same here. It's always been fun.
So I
All right,
appreciate
and how's
it,
it
sir.
for the Marcella show?
I just have a couple of things in my report. You know, it talks about the liquor licenses and some of those extra fees and et cetera, if you've not, renewed the liquor licenses. So those are implemented as Chris goes through and works on those renewals. He's done a great job in helping with that process. And Mr. Tishner's done a great job of learning his billing roles, so that's been something along with, and we survived, and I understand that Mr. Larkerbrink also survived a week without us, without him, as we kind of giggle about that, just to kind of make sure, because he was not the best about taking off, and being gone for any length of period of time. So we hope he's enjoying his retirement, and we do miss him still, but it's something that we are progressing nicely with that. There was some inquiry about the franchise revenues and that source. And so those franchise revenues are strictly utility services, so that is your phone, cable, water, gas and electric that pays those franchise fees. Those are typically a line item in your bills, when you pay those corporations for that money, that's then passed on to us as part of the gross receipts that they collect. And so the 24 budget, I believe right now is slated at $2.6 million. And we may adjust that a little bit because the gas services increases in their rates is a little bit more than what I had originally projected. So we're exceeding 23's budget with those franchise fees specific to gas. And so we may up the 24 just a little bit based on knowing that those rates have gone up as well. As you know, budget is still a moving target until you hear it, basic in its final form and you do first and second reading. So there's lots to happen over the next 4 meetings, specifically with the tax levy and hearing all the department directors and their budgets in July. And we'll set that tax levy to know our property tax revenues as well. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Gentlemen, ma'am,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Now you're done, right?
Yeah, I was gonna share, we do have 17 RSVPs for our lunch and learn. So that's it.
18 or 17, I'm one.
There room for that many people in there?
We might have to move the location. But,
In the parking.
yeah. Anyway.
It's gonna be hot.
We'll figure something out.
Hey, it's better than Thursday. Thursday, they're looking at 103. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a closed session. We have a motion to close part of this meeting pursuant to section 610.021 of Missouri revised statutes relating to 1, legal actions, causes of action, or litigation involving a public governmental body, and any confidential information or privileged communications between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorneys.
Move to approve.
Osborne,
Yes.
Euler,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Kushner.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we are now adjourned.